Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and thank you to everyone who got involved on the second episode of this series. But let's get on to the third. So some of you might be wondering what this is. So quick note on this guitar. This is a new Mexican-made Mike McCready Stratocaster. And I thought I would use it because although it's the Mike McCready, it's a worn sunburst Strat and it fits quite well. So there's a lot going for this guitar. There's a lot I do like about it, and there is quite a bit that I also don't really like about it. So we'll save that for another video. But today, the song we're looking at is Dosed by Red Hot Chili Peppers. And there are a lot of songs I could have chosen instead of this one. And we'll get on to why I chose to do this one first, because there will be a number of Chili Pepper songs on this list. So this song was on the record By the Way, which came out in 2002, and that makes it the first of this series so far that actually came out when I was alive. And not only was I alive, but I can remember being bought this album in 2002 when it first came out, because I have listened to the Chili Peppers and been interested in their songs, grabbed by their songs, my whole life, long before I ever even thought to play them on guitar. And I mean decades before, literally. So, you know, it's weird that I literally I heard this as soon as it came out in 2002. And it was off their 8th album. I mean, just think about that, right? It's their 8th album, By the Way, 2002. And you just think, like, how many bands get to 8 albums and they're still putting out their best work? And in the case of By the Way, there was more to come after By the Way. And it's just crazy to think that was their 8th album. And the people on it were, you had Chad Smith on drums, Flea on the bass, Anthony Kiedis on the vocals, although I still really don't understand what he says half the time, but that's not the point, and John Frusciante on the guitar. And John Frusciante for me is, and not to discredit the other members of the band, but for me, the Chili Peppers they always do their best work when John Frusciante is in the band. And when By the Way came out, it was Frusciante's second stint in the band. So he came in, did Mother's Milk and Blood Sugar Sex Magic, left, did a lot of cool records of his own, which I like, and some of them will probably be in this list as well, but he was having all kinds of problems. He came back and did Californication, By the Way, and Stadium Arcadium over about roughly 10-year period, and 3 unbelievably awesome, for me, life-defining albums. Massive fan of all 3 of those. Left again after Stadium Arcadium, left for about 10 years, just over, and then came back in 2019 for a 3rd time, and we've since had 2 more albums. And my personal opinion of those 2 is that you could make one pretty good album out of the 2 of them, but not the best. But we'll see what comes from them. He is still in the band, like I say. So this song then, Dosed, it's a song that, believe it or not, has only ever been played live, I think 3 times, 2 or 3 times. It's been teased and kind of jammed a little bit, but it's only been played in its entirety 2 or 3 times. I think it's 3, but like I said, 2 or 3. And that was in 2017 when John Frusciante, the guy who was on the song in the first place, wasn't even in the band. It was Josh Klinghoffer that has played this song live anytime they've done it. And the reason they played it live is because they had a fan, a girl, and she was terminally ill, and it was a sort of lifelong dream to hear Dosed live. And fair play to the band and to Josh Klinghoffer, they made that happen. But I do think that they did it live literally days after she passed away, so she never got to see it. But they did do it, and it was Zach Irons who joined Josh Klinghoffer on stage. I think for all of those, or at least one of those, could have been all 3 or 2 or at least 1. But the song's been played live so little times that it is what it is. And the reason for that is because of all the layered guitar parts. That's kind of why I chose this song today. Because like I said, as a fan of music and the Chili Peppers, for sure there is songs I could have done first. And like I said, there will be more songs on the list. But the reason why I've chose to do Dosed first, and the reason why I like this song so much, is because from a guitar player's point of view, Dosed is the reason I bought a guitar loop pedal and learned or tried to learn guitar looping. And I think that if you're the type of person that's either looking to start looping, or you've bought a looper and you just never find, you never find yourself with a reason to use it, learning this song is a really, really good way of getting that loop technique under your fingers. It just works perfectly for it. And like I said as well, like, I am such a melody driven person when it comes to music. The lyrics never really come into my mind. It's all about that melody and the way the song wraps around you. And when I hear this song and the various guitar parts that layer on top of each other, it's got that for me. It has that full sense of melody and that wraparound feeling, and I just love that about lots of different songs. And when that sort of comes in as a guitar player as a practice tool, it just has to make this list pretty much. So that is why this song is on the list and why we're doing it first. So I think with all that said, let's get on to how to play this thing. All right then, let's get into the lesson for Dosed. Like I said, using a looper pedal. So start off with the first bit, which is this. This is going to be your bass layer. It's the one that sort of keeps everything together. So it sounds like this. And that sits underneath everything. So we're on the neck pickup there. I am trying to include my right hand in this shot as well, so that you can see what's going on there. But it's sort of the song, like I said, it just goes just like that. But I find that when you're kind of starting out and you're not playing along with the song, for looping it can kind of be easier to do it like this. So we're putting in an extra note there just because it's then every note is kind of on the beat, if you know what I mean. So the notes we're playing there is the A string, 3rd fret. That's our first note. Then we've got 5th fret on the D string. And 5th fret on the B string. And you can play that either as like a bar. You can see that I'm just doing that with 2 fingers. Or you can fret each one kind of like that. I kind of mix. I don't really have a preference, but so 3rd fret A string, 5th fret D string, 5th fret B string, and then the rhythm. Listen to the song, but the rhythm is just like that. But like I said, because we're going to be playing solo, it's okay to add the extra walk back. So you got just coming back to that D string. It's just going to help you keep in time. And I think for the lesson and for when you're doing it on your own, it can be really helpful to just play that extra note, because then you're constantly playing a note on the beat. And then we move that shape up then. So keep the exact same shape and move it up 2 full frets. So now we've got 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D string, and 7th fret of the B string. So we're going. It's exactly the same shape, just 2 frets further on up. And then we slide 2 frets up again, but we have a slightly different shape. So it will sound like this. So we have this shape. So we're going from 5 on the A, 7 on the D, 7 on the B, to 7 on the A, 9 on the D, and 8 on the B. So we got this. All together. And that's it. We just loop that again and again. But like I said, on the song, you don't play the extra note on the D string as you're walking back. But on your own, it is helpful. So let's try and lay that down as a loop then. So here we go. just pause that. It's a single switch looper, so you got to tap dance with it a bit. But so like I said, the reason this is so good for looping is because you're playing those notes on every kind of beat where you're going to want to press the looper at some point. So you got, and then as soon as you finish that passage, it's a press of the looper. And because you've played a note on every kind of quarter note, if you like, it's just a lot easier to time that press of the looper. And it's such an overlooked thing with a looper. It's hard to use. So if you've got a riff like this that just helps you, you know, stay in time, it's really, really handy. So once you've got that far, you'll end up with a loop that sounds like this. And then we can get into the second part, which sounds like this. So that's that part then, which is the hardest part of it for sure. It sounds simple, but it is quite tricky. So it's all on the G, B, and E string, and we're barring the 12th fret first. So we get, and you start on the high E as well. That high E is kind of, it's kind of driven by the high E string, if you know what I mean. And it sounds, so bar the 12th fret, G, B, and E, and then it's kind of played, I guess, in sort of double time to that. And it's the first, there's 3 little sections of it, just like there is with this. First one, like I said, bar the 12th, G, B, and E. Then we're going 11th on the G string, and 10th little bar on the B and E. Keep the same pattern. So bar the 12th, 11th fret on the G, 10, 10 on the B and E. And then we're coming down to 9 on the G, 8 on the B, 7 on the high E. So it's 3 little triads. And it's again, it sounds simple, but I've got to admit, it's been a while since I played it, and I am struggling to play it, you know, for a long period over and over and again accurately. So it's quite a little tricky part. But once we get it on the loop, I find that one little tip as well is on the last note of each of those things, do an up pick, because it helps keep a rhythm going. So if you notice my right hand, it'll always finish on an up. It's like down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. And then, because you're sat on your own with your looper, and you know it's all just practice, the good thing to do is start the loop we did first. So you've got that right, that's in the looper. So start that. And then play it. But we're not recording yet. And then once you've got it right, hit the record on the next time round. So I'll do that now, and we'll end up with 2 pieces of the loop. So there you go. Even though I think I came very close to messing up there, but we've got the loop right. And now we have our bass that we can start doing all the overdubs with. Sound like this. So a couple of little overdubs, and this is the part, once you've got those 2 bass layers right, this is the part where I would say, right, now mess around with it, because you've got a lot of room to kind of do what you want really, as long as it's in the key. But sticking with the song, so first little overdub part, you've got G string, 4th fret, Tap that twice, go up to the 7th on the same string and back to the 4th. In context. And then the next little part to that, it's quite similar except for you're using the 5th fret of the B string. So instead of going, we're going. So 4th fret of the G, 7th fret of the G, 5th fret of the B, back to where you started. And that's one of the overdubs. You'll notice if you really want to get the song right and fill it with kind of layers, if you like, there's another bit behind those two that sounds a bit like this. So, where's it go? That. So that's on the D string, 5th, 4th, A string, 7th, 5th, 7th. So I put that in the background, it will give it context, you'll see what I mean. So there's your main bits there, and then we've got a couple more kind of overdub bits. You got this what it's probably my favourite overdub actually, and it's the simplest one. So you got 10th on the high E, and kind of give that a good slap, like good up pick with a bit of attitude on it, and it will sound like this in the song. And then we come down to G, 11 and 12. That's all it is. Those 3 notes, but 3 notes put in just the right place sounds like this. Really, really effective. I think that's really, really cool. And then we got 2 more little overdubs that sound like this. So those high E string, and basically follow your 3 dots past the 12th. So you've got the 19th, 17th, 15th on the high E, 14th. So follow the 3 dots down from 14. Ooh. And then end back on the 15th. One little tip for this song, by the way, is because there's a lot of notes that you end up just kind of hanging on, try and resist the urge to put a lot of vibrato on, because you kind of want to end up going. Don't do that, because it won't sound right on the loop. You can get away with it a teeny tiny bit, but try and keep the note. Resist the urge to put bends on it, pretty much. And again, that's something you can take away from this song. That, you know, resisting the urge to bend everything, that's a great habit to have, because otherwise, before you know it, you're bending every single note you've ever played, and it's just too much. So another little subtle thing you can take away from it. And then once you've got that under your fingers, it has one other little part, which is that in context. So that little bit, like I say, is 15th on the high E to 14th, 17th on the B down to 15th and back to 17th. And resist the urge to do too much of that. So one more thing with kind of all of those licks in context. So that's kind of the main little overdubs of the song. But the main sort of takeaway is practice getting that loop right. And that loop wasn't the cleanest, as you can see. So don't worry if you can't get it. And once you've got that right, mess around with what else you can do to overdub it. And when you can hit that loop pedal and get it in time every time, you can take that then to all of your own chord progressions. And it's this. I just find that this song, because it's challenging enough, but it's approachable, and it can give you a good grounding of basic looper usage. And that, like I said, that's why I wanted to do it first. So hopefully you found this useful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again very soon.